So, ladies and gentlemen, in an interesting turn of events out of Maryland, state law enforcement did something there that Minnesota law enforcement refused to do, basically, which was push back against Democrat leadership when a policy risks public safety in favor of them being able to score political points. And so you have the governor out there, Wes Moore. He signed legislation requiring local law enforcement to stop cooperating with ICE. Now, here's the problem. There wasn't some major crisis in the state. We weren't hearing nonstop issues about ICE coordination. And so if it wasn't broken, why change it? I'll tell you. Because Democrats have decided that if it opposes Trump, let's do it, right? And so it doesn't really matter if it was a major issue in their state. No. Suddenly, it becomes priority. As always, smash that thumbs up button if you enjoy the content. That's the best way to let me know. And to stay locked in with future videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And don't forget, turn those notification bells on just in case YouTube doesn't let you know when I drop the latest video. Let's get right into it.
The abolishment of the 287G program is not the abolishment of ICE. They're going nowhere. In fact, they're going to intensify their efforts. We warned them this was going to happen, and it's going to happen.
You made some news the other day with signing the non-cooperation agreements with ICE into law in your state. Explain why.
Well, because it's really about, I don't think that ICE should have the ability to deputize our local law enforcement to do the job of immigration. I'm very clear that our local law enforcement will continue working with federal officials when it comes to violent criminals, when it comes to rapists and murderers and pedophiles, etc. But our local law enforcement are very well trained and they're accountable. And what we're seeing right now from this new variation of ICE is that we are deploying people into neighborhoods who are untrained and who are unaccountable. And I do not want to subject local law enforcement, who I believe in and are doing a remarkable job driving down violent crime in my state. I do not want them to be deputized to work for a law enforcement agency that has now gone from $10 billion annual funding to $85 billion in annual funding without measures of accountability that's attached to that.
And so to be clear, we're talking about sharing information, honoring detainees, and cooperating to remove violent public safety threats. Lumping cooperating with ICE under the word deputized just makes it sound more aggressive than what it really is in practice. And why wouldn't you want to remove public safety threats? Right now you have 40 states who are cooperating with ICE through the same program. And so just make it make sense.
This is going to be an issue that's going to be talked about. And there's some within your party who are calling for abolishing ICE. Whoever ends up being the presidential candidate for the Democrats in 2028, do you think they should support abolishing ICE?
No, I think when you're looking at what is happening with ICE right now, there's not a alignment between what the organization's intent is and what's actually happening within society. And I've been very clear, public safety is my #1 priority. I mean, it's the reason that in Maryland, we've had the largest drop, amongst the largest drop in violent crime anywhere in the United States of America. Since I became the governor, violent crime is down nearly 50% in the state of Maryland. We know how to deal with violent crime in the state of Maryland, and it's because we have great local law enforcement who are accountable, who are trained, and who actually work with the community. And there is a disconnect right now between that type of local constitutional policing and what we are seeing from ICE.
If you're saying you prioritize public safety, then the question becomes, why remove cooperation with ICE? Why risk the probability of violent offenders being let right back out into the community that you say you want to keep safe? Unless you're doing it for political reasons, right? Unless you're doing it to gain support, gain favor within your party because the radical left has taken over, so you got to appease them. And listen, I get it. Politicians play politics, but this is something that could make communities less safe. But let's go ahead and jump into the next clip because that's exactly why you have law enforcement pushing back against him in his own state. Check it out.
And we should still cooperate with our federal partners in ICE, and we're going to allow them to know who we are bringing into our jails and allow them to file detainers.
And I did explicitly say that no politician is going to tell me that I can't communicate with another law enforcement agency on matters of public safety in my community.
And they should continue cooperating because the governor just acknowledged that violent crime is down and praised law enforcement for the job they're doing. And so if crime is down and if officers are performing well, why impose a policy that could potentially interfere with that coordination? What problem is that solving? Enlighten us. What does it actually accomplish beyond sending a political message that you stood up to big bad Trump? You say that you're tough on crime. You highlight the falling violent crime numbers. You commend law enforcement for doing their job, but then you draw a line against working with federal law enforcement when it comes to deporting criminals? Make that make sense. Once again, the entire purpose of these cooperation programs and why 40 states choosing to work with federal authorities is because it allows state authorities to work with federal authorities to remove individuals who are here unlawfully and have committed crimes, right? Really? Local officers are being turned into full-time federal immigration agents now? No. In reality, a lot of these cooperation programs are about coordination, information sharing, like I said, in specific situations, such as when you arrest someone that's committed a crime, not some random street sweeps like they want to make you think. This is ICE, not Border Patrol. There's a difference. But it's the same reason that they say undocumented migrants instead of illegal aliens. It's to shape public perception and shift how the public sees it, right? But when you strip away all the labels and you get to the core of the issue. If someone is arrested for a crime and processed through the system, part of processing is verifying identity. And legal status shouldn't be this radical next step. Law enforcement checks identification all the time. That's nothing new. And under federal law, being in the country unlawfully is still a legal matter. And so really, if someone commits a crime and if they're found to be in the country illegally, the legal system should follow through with the appropriate consequences, which can include removal proceedings. What they're offering, right? Tax increases, more illegals that you will foot the bill on, more chaos, less law and order. And it doesn't matter if it comes at the expense of you, shutting down the government, making American workers suffer. Apparently that's okay, because the goal is more power. And they'll do whatever it takes to get it, at least in my opinion. That's the update and my thoughts. Now let me hear from you. Drop your comments down below. As always, smash that thumbs up button. That's the best way to let me know. Subscribe to the channel to stay locked in with future videos. And as always, until next time.